Hello. The Divine Code reading for March 6th, pages 545 and 546. We are in the chapter Guarding Against Forbidden Relations and Following the Ways of Modesty. Topic number 11. A man naturally lusts for and desires forbidden relations. Therefore, it is fitting that he subjugate his inclination in this manner and behave with extra piety. That is, he should take upon himself extra precautions, even if they are not explicitly commanded, in order to distance himself from sin. So it's normal for a man, not so much for a woman, but men tend to be more inclined this way, to have lustful feelings. It's just part of the drive of of the makeup of a man, and therefore men need to guard themselves regarding this. And to cultivate pure thoughts and state of mind. That is, to turn his thoughts to proper and pure matters, since he naturally thinks of lustful things. And to refine one's behavior and character in order to be saved from his natural desires. So it requires a lot of work and a lot of behavioral, as well as training the mind. It's also training the behavior of the person, not to follow their natural inclination. The mind needs to rule over the heart. That's what makes the human different from the animal. The animals are usually positioned in a horizontal manner, meaning that the mind and the heart and the body are all on the same level. But man stands upright, and his mind is above his heart, and his heart is above his body. And that's the way God created man to be. Therefore, the man should, his behavior, his mental thought process and his behavior needs to be controlling over his natural lust. A person should always distance himself from abhorrent things and from suspicion and things that awaken thoughts of lust. A man should not walk behind a woman on the street, which will cause him to contemplate her form and her manner of walking. He should go out of his way to avoid walking by a brothel or a place of a prostitute. So in his daily activities, the man needs to have himself in situations where he's not going to be arousing lustful feelings. When it says walking behind a woman, it doesn't mean it on a busy street where there's 100 people on the sidewalk and it's impossible to not walk behind somebody at some point along the way. What it's referring to is purposely or in more of a direct manner walking behind a woman, or having himself in situations. It says a brothel or a place of prostitution. That could also be a beach with mixed bathing. Things that in our normal society, which is controlled by lust, people think is normal and natural, and they don't think anything of it, but yet it does arouse lustful thoughts within men. And that's just the reality of the situation. And people need to avoid these kind of situations. So a person would not walk behind a woman in a way where he will be drawn to pay attention or to gaze at the woman as she's walking in front of him. He should look for ways to avoid that. He should be wary of being alone with a woman who is forbidden to him, as this brings him to sin. Now that would not just be a woman that's forbidden to him, but even women that are permitted but are not proper. Someone other than his wife, um, it would not be proper for him to be alone with a woman in a situation where he could be drawn towards lustful thoughts. He should also distance himself from lightheartedness and lewdness, since these are the main causes of sinning with forbidden relations. So that's referring to the flirtatious activities, which in society people think is normal. They just think it's being sociable. But the flirtatious type of activity should be avoided. He should not remain a bachelor for many years, because marriage brings a man to abide by a higher moral standard. If a man is considering delaying marriage while he pursues an advanced education and/or advancement in a career, it is worthy for him to seek wise advice about this. It might be better for him overall to find a wife sooner and then advance through his education and career as a married man. And the reality is, the woman behind the man is not just a figure of speech. Women will help a man to be guided in a proper direction, if assuming it's a decent woman. She will make sure that the man, she will kind of boss the man, so to speak, into a better path. And that's the proper helpmeet role, is to do that. Since he can train himself to think of relations only with his wife and not with other women. And being married would also give him a proper channel for the natural desires that a man has. A man is going to have these desires either way, and it's very difficult to control. And with a wife, it'll be channeled in the proper way, and then it will not be. He would be less inclined to have these feelings towards other women, because he has somebody to have the feelings with. The most effective way to accomplish this, the sages says, is for a man to turn his mind to intellectual or financial pursuits, and to expand. See Tractate Kesubot 59b. Idleness leads to lewdness and corruption. There is no natural difference in this regard between men and women. So idleness is the devil's playground, and a person who stays occupied with his life with productive things will have less time to be drawn towards sin, and whether it be lust or if it be drugs, alcohol, or whatever the person is doing, if he's training his mind towards productive things, Torah study would be a good area. Then he's less inclined to have time to be drawn to less productive things. And expand his mind intellectually, since lustful thoughts only overcome a person whose heart and mind are empty of wisdom. And this is based on Rambam, The Laws of Forbidden Sexual Relations, chapter 22. We are now beginning chapter 7, Prohibitions related to being alone with a forbidden partner. Topic number 1. It is forbidden for a man to seclude himself with another man's wife, or with a woman who has at any time been the wife of his father. These restrictions apply if she is not his close relative, that is, his mother, sister, or daughter. There is a safeguard against the sin of this is a safeguard against the sin of forbidden relations. Topic 17, that's a couple days from now, below, explains that this prohibition is not merely commanded by God to the Gentiles, or was not expressly commanded to God to the Gentiles. Rather, it is an added logical precaution that helps people to guard themselves from the temptation to engage in adultery or other forbidden relations. See the following topics of this chapter for explanations of where, when, and how this precaution applies. So this last chapter in the section, the prohibition of forbidden relations, deals with the laws of Yichud, and these are very strongly spelled out in Jewish halakha, and there is many logical things that we can learn from this that would also apply to non-Jews. So we're learning that, for example, a person that would be a forbidden partner, he should not find himself secluded with the person, because that can lead to socialness and casualness with them, and can lead to problems. The prohibition of secluding Gentiles is not stated explicitly, but is logically wrong, as it is the greatest cause of forbidden relations, as written by Rambam's End of the Laws of Forbidden Sexual Relations. See Tractate Yevamos 47b. Naomi said to Ruth, "Seclusion is forbidden for us Jews." And Rashi explains that this is the prohibition of seclusion with the wife of another man. Naomi was teaching Ruth the stringencies of Judaism before Ruth converted. And this conversation is in the Midrash, that on the road back to Israel, Naomi was instructing Ruth in the proper behavior for Israel, because Ruth was in the process of converting, and Naomi was explaining to her what the halakhas are. This implies that when Ruth was a Gentile before her conversion, it was not forbidden to her. It is possible that for a Jew, this is a Torah law prohibition, and is only a logical prohibition for Gentiles. Or perhaps she was referring to the commandment regarding a sota, a Jewish wife who was suspected of having adulterous relations with a man for whom her husband had formerly warned her not to be secluded with, as described in Numbers 5:11 and 31. This Jewish commandment does not apply to Gentiles. So in the law of a sota, that's the suspected adulteress, the husband would warn the wife, "I do not want you secluded with this man." And from that, we can imply that it's improper for a married woman to be secluded with any man. But the husband in front of a court she would be warned in front of a court. And then if she was secluded with the man, he would take her back. He had the court restraining order, so to speak, and would go to the priest, and they would go through the whole ritual regarding the unfaithful wife. And from that, we learn the concept that seclusion is improper, especially between forbidden partners, and just in general, between men and women in general. Seclusion is improper because it leads to improper activity. And therefore, it's a logical commandment. It's logic. As being logical, it applies to the non-Jewish people as well. Thank you.